Hi, everyone. It's January 21st, 2023, and welcome to my FlossTube number 5, a visit to Mesa, Arizona and Sampler Symposium. Hello again. I want to welcome everyone. Many of you know me as a quilter, a quilt designer, a quilt teacher, an author, fabric designer, and I have a couple of my quilts behind me, and I am all those things, but I'm also a needle worker. Now, for those of you that are quilters and are interested in the quilts behind me, I will put a link in the description. These quilts are from my Celtic Illusions book. These are pieced, not appliqued. So I'll put the link in the description. And if you want to see more videos of my quilts and the quilting videos, just look under the playlist for quilting. But this is my FlossTube video, and you can see the other ones I've done by hitting the FlossTube playlist. Well, I have just returned from Sampler Symposium at the Attic, sponsored by the Attic. I visited the Attic in Mesa, Arizona. Overwhelmed. I guess I still am overwhelmed. I wanted to share my experience with you. Next video, we'll look at works in progress. I do have a finish, but we'll look at all that next time. But this time I wanted to talk about Sampler Symposium. It was my first stitching conference. And I've done many quilting conferences over all of my 30 plus years career in quilting and loved them. This was my first stitching experience, and I went by myself. And I was a little nervous, but it turned out great. Everyone was so welcoming, so wonderful, so excited to be there, so friendly. I just can't say enough about it. I really was a little nervous, but as soon as I stepped into the attic and saw everything and started talking with people, it's like you walk into a room with 150 friends. It really was wonderful. So I'm going to show you projects, talk a little bit about my visit to the attic, and then look at some of the things that I purchased there. But the visit to the attic, we had a flight at 5:10 from Nashville, which meant we had to leave the house just after 2, which means we were up. I don't even know what time it was, before 1 o'clock in the morning. And so by the time we got to the airport in Phoenix and landed and got the rental car, my husband went with me, got the rental car, got everything loaded, went to get breakfast because we really hadn't eaten. So we found a wonderful restaurant right near the attic in that same shopping center, ate there. And then my husband went to play golf, dropped me off at the attic so I could have all day. I got there about 11 a.m. and I walked in and I was simply overwhelmed because I had purchased things online or called the attic and placed an order, but walking in and seeing it, just overwhelmed. Now, I will, at the end of this FlossTube, put a video that I took of the inside of the store so you can see it. And also on my Instagram, I do have some photos. But I had a note that I had written to Carolyn at the attic, who had helped me with placing an order and getting things, also to Jean and a couple of other teachers that would be at the symposium. I had them in my bag in case I saw them there. So as I walked in, they have cases filled with scissors and smalls and different things. And I just stood there, really like a deer in headlights. I thought, I don't know where to look. I don't know what to do. Now, one thing I can tell you that was helpful to me is I had a list of things that I knew I wanted to look for. So I pulled out my list after just kind of standing there for a minute and trying to take it all in because there were lots of people and everyone was smiling and excited. And I kind of walked around and I saw Carolyn right away and chatted with her for a minute and handed her the little note, a little something I had made for her, chatted with her for a minute. And then I saw Jean, who, what a wonderful dear lady. Oh, she's just so special. Chatted with her, thanked her for the care in packing the orders, getting the things to me I had ordered. And I had a little note for her and a little something I had made. But as I was talking to her, the only thing I had picked up so far was a hoop. And I'm standing there with this hoop in my hand talking to her. And then I realized it was a hoop I already owned. I mean, I was that overwhelmed. And I told her, I said, I'm standing here looking at all of these beautiful things in the store. And I'm standing here with a hoop, realizing as I'm looking at it, I already own it. And she just laughed. I did pull out Harriet Salt and show her because she had sent me the chart and the silk and the linen and showed her what I was working on. And I also saw Nicola and I showed it to her and explained that I had just been returning to cross stitch after many decades and showed her and had a little note for her as well. But I had my list, and one of the things that I wanted to get at the attic were silks, red silks. So I'm going to show you under the close-up camera what I purchased. This is more of a reference for me. I just put them in this little bag to keep them together at home. But I purchased reds in the 103 and also in the Swasserfine, just to have a reference. So if I want a red, I know what the reds are and the numbers. So that's the first thing I did. And then I also had two projects. Come back here to me. I had two projects that I had pulled that I wanted to find linen and silk for. And one of them was from, it's a Quaker sampler from 1802. I'm going to pull out the picture. It was on the Whitney Antiques website. So I was looking through their website and I saw this sampler. Now, this is just a picture of the original. And I loved the patina of it. I loved how it was faded. I just loved everything about it. And so I had this picture and I thought, well, I wonder if anyone has charted it. So I started searching under Hannah Smith, 1802. And what I found was that Sabine at European Reproductions had charted it. She's in Berlin, very easy to order. Just sent her, I think I sent her an email with what I wanted to order. She sent a PayPal request and I paid for it and had it within, it seemed like it was over Christmas and it still was in my hands within 2 weeks, but beautifully packaged. So it's in this nice case. Now, this is the original and it is charted with these colors, and I'm not going to pull the chart out, just want to show you how everything is so protected. Sabine even put my name on the chart if I wanted to add my name. So I had this, I pulled the DMC floss that's in the chart. See if I have that. Yes, let me get them. So at home, I'll show you what I had pulled at home. So these are the colors for this, for the reproduction. So I pulled the colors and then I wanted it to be a little bit more faded. So I went to my hand dyed and pulled Peapod. And then here's the DMC. This one's just a little pinker. This one is sand, and these are only used a couple of places. So I had those And then I had pulled this fabric because I wanted this patina. And I'll decide if I'm going to use this, but I did get something at the attic too. So those are the colors, mostly this. Not sure where I'll use, or if I'll use that, or if I'll use this. I'm not sure yet, but I know I like that. So I had at the attic, I had these things, and I had this. And so what I did was I went over to the linen, lots of linen. That's the first thing I knew I needed to get. And I found this, which is so close to the original and the patina. This is Needle and Flax, Dirty Teacup. Just thought that's perfect. That's kind of this, you notice this has kind of a little peachy hue to it. So does this linen. This one is 36 count. And then what I did was I laid the hand dyed that I had picked. And I thought I would really like to use silk on this. So found this Weather Divine that I really loved. So pulled that, and I'm still not sure about this color that's only used a little bit here or there. So I'm going to decide on that as I go along. So that's the first thing I did, was pull the reds, find this linen, and I went to the table in the back corner where all the silks are. And I had this chart and I had this linen, and I was kind of checking the colors. And two lovely ladies, Shelley and Lori, were over there, and I was showing them what I was doing. And Lori is the one that actually suggested this Weathered Vine, which was perfect. And it ended up, I ended up sitting with Lori, Shelley, and Julia, and we had a fantastic time at the symposium. But Lori's the one that helped me with that. So that's the first thing that I did pull, was the silk and the linen for this chart for Hannah Smith, 1802. So I did that. And then the next thing I did was I had one other project I wanted to pull for. And this is Merry Christmas Wishes by Kathy Barrett. And the called for linen and silk are out of stock. So I thought, well, let me just see what else I can find. So this is Tabby Cat, Just the Ticket, which I thought looked very nice. And I do have other linen I purchased, so I'll kind of tweak that and decide for sure now that I'm home. But I did love how that looked. And the pattern called for, the chart called for Gloriana Slate Green, which was in stock at the attic. And the other color that it's called for is Gloriana Lacquered Gold, which was out of stock. But you could also substitute with Weeks Bee's Knees. So I pulled that, and then I also saw this Wheatgrass, which is similar in the silk by Classic Colorworks. So I'm leaning toward those. So I also had that on that back table, and Shelley and Lori saw me pulling those, and we kind of chatted about that. So those are the two things that I pulled while I was trying to gather myself as I was at the attic, because I did have a list. Every time I would think of something that I wanted to look for, I would write it in my notes in my phone. So I was walking around with my notes. Again, I know I look like a deer in headlights because I was just totally overwhelmed. But once it kind of got going, then it was better. So I'm going to come back to this, but I did want to show you what I started with, because we'll look at the other things that I purchased in a little bit. but I wanted to set this down. I did want to show you what we did for the projects and at the symposium. These are the teachers, and the teachers we had were Vicki and Megan from Needlework Press, Nicola from Hands Across the Sea, Claudia from Dutch Treat Designs, and Kathleen from Cross Stitch Antiques, and Mary Cox. And it was phenomenal. So I want to show you that. I'm going to come back to the main camera to show you. So the first thing that we got, and there were classes Friday morning, Friday afternoon, optional classes. I started Friday evening, and Shelley and Lori had invited me to sit with them. And then their friend Julia joined us. Like I said, we had such a great time. And during the day on Friday, my husband and I went to Frank Lloyd Wright's Taliesin West and toured that. So we enjoyed that. But when I got to the symposium, set my things down at the table, we had dinner. And then the first evening, and I'm going to get my list because I don't want to miss anything or anything that we did. The class that we had on Friday evening was with Vicki and Megan from Needlework Press. And even before the class started, we received a bag from Jean. And there's also a chart that we can stitch Sampler Symposium on it. And we had our choice of bag color and also our choice of, is it wool? It's right here. DMC. Let me go into the camera to show you what I chose. So I chose the green bag with the darker green floss. And then what we did is we had class. I'm going to come back here. And I had intended actually to do this video in my sewing room, but there's so many things I need to show you on the close-up camera that well, this time we'll do it in the Zoom studio where I do a lot of my quilting classes and lectures, and we'll get to the sewing room. But the project that we did with Needlework Press is a parlor pincushion. And they had the reproduction, or they had the original antiques there. You can see it here. And so what we received was the chart. And this is so beautiful. And this, we received linen and the classic color works and even the fabric to go on the back. Several people started it right away, and it was so fun to come around and see. And look at these colors. Can you see on this linen? Just stunning. So that was Friday evening. And then on Saturday, we had class with, I'm going to get it out here. Actually had class with Nicola and also with Claudia, and their topic was upstairs, downstairs, samplers of Victorian girls. And so this was a card that Nicola gave us, and I'm going to come back here, trying to keep everything organized and still show you. So we had ordered ahead of time our count. And so we could go up and get our kits, and I took our name to make sure we had the right count. So it was packaged like this. And when you open it up, and I'm going to come over here so you can see it. So it'll be almost like an unbox or an enveloping, I guess. So for Nicola's class, she talked about 2 samplers. This one. And this one came with Tabby Cat Wood Smoke. And in this towel, we have the silks. And the question was it the upstairs or the downstairs? Young lady that did this. Show you the, well, this will be the next one. And oh, should I give it away? It ended up being the upstairs young lady that did this one. And then here is, and this is gorgeous. And this is Sarah's. She was the downstairs servant. He did this glorious sampler, and we received the card. And oh, look, from McKean, we received this scissor fob. And this, for this sampler, we received creme brulee tabby cat. And here are the silks. Let's see if I can. There we go. See those beautiful silks. So all of the silks came in our pouch like this. And then everything else came in the envelope. So we had it all together. It was a wonderful lecture. Just tuck all these together so I don't lose them. I did see somebody starting on this sampler, and the border is so beautiful. So I'm looking forward to getting started on that. So that was Nicola's from Hand Across the Sea. That's what she did. Let me set this down. And then the next part that we did was with Claudia from Dutch Treats Designs. And she spoke about a new type of sampler. Well, not this one. This one is Bristol Sampler. I'm just going to go to the page that where it's talked about. I don't want to tell you anything incorrectly. So she did talk about the Sudbury Hall School, the girls. It was very fascinating. So we received this chart, beautiful Bristol sampler. And I'm just gonna, nope, I don't want to show. So we've got information about the girls, and I'm not going to show the chart. And then also, this is a different kind of sampler, one that Claudia has discovered, Sudbury Hall, totally different. So that was fascinating, and Claudia had some of the original samplers that we could look at. So that was Saturday morning, which contained a lot of information. And then Saturday, after a delicious lunch, and I'm still thinking about the wonderful soup we had. There was salad, there was tortillas, there was things to put in the tortillas, there was wonderful poblano chicken soup. But in the afternoon, we had Kathleen Littleton, who talked about Quaker samplers. And she had this wonderful book and went over so much of the information in it. And here is the original sampler. So wonderful lecture about this. And then we were able to go up and get our kit, which is the reproduction of this sampler. Pull it up so you can see it. And I'm going to pull this out because the linen in this sampler, this is like gold. This is Lakeside Linen Maritime. And it's like, oh, I may just want to keep this and hold it and not use it. I'm not sure yet. It's so beautiful and so hard to get. And here are the silks to go with the sampler. And I was looking at this, and when I went back to the attic Saturday after all our classes finished, I started looking at this and I thought, you know, this would be interesting to add color to it rather than just one color. And I'm not sure I'll do that, but I want to show you the colors that I pulled. So these are all Silks Classic Color Works, very similar. If I decide to do this instead of this, and this is 103, I think, yes. So I pulled some colors that I thought would be beautiful. And if I decide to add more color, here's the palette. Let's see. I'm not sure if I'll do that, but just looking at it, there's a lot of ways I could add color to it. So that was our class on Saturday. Set these down. So Saturday evening, I went back to the attic. And I'll show you when we look at haul some of the things, but I did pick this up, which is a new catalog from the Whitley Antiques, and it's all samplers from 1630 to 1730. And again, just kind of flips through. Absolutely glorious. So when I left, Jean still had some of these in stock if you're interested. And I think I'll show you the other project before we look at haul, because on Sunday, what we had was a class with Mary Cox. And this is the box that we were given. So beautifully presented. And what's in it, I'm going to pull my information because we have the fabric and the cover for the bag. We also have this little box, and we can do a handle. Then we have a needle book, and let's see, just all kinds of little things. All of those things are in there, and Mary went over every part of it to make sure all the steps were covered. But look at this beautiful box. Let's see if I can. Tried to put it back just like it was, so I could show you. Beautifully presented. So here's the linen for the little girl with the lamb. And also there's enough to do all of the accessories. So here's the linen and the needle. Here is the French General fabric for the bag. Here are the flosses. Ribbon, because there's going to be ribbon used in the tie for the drawstring bag, also on the accessories. So beautifully presented. This is the acrylic box that we can do a handle to. It'd be perfect to put 103s in. A little bit more of the ribbon that came after she had all the boxes together. Here are the silks, again 103, so you can see them, how beautiful they'll be against the linen. And then the chart with all of the information for all of the accessories. And then this is so special. Little scissors. This, she had purchased somewhere a whole container that was sealed of antique needles. And that's what that is. So they had never been opened. I don't even want to take it out of the bag yet. So that can be put in the little needle case. And think that someone opened it. I haven't opened it yet. I think this is a little, no, I don't want to open it. I think this is a floss drop. So this was beautifully presented and such a good class with Mary. She had everything set up so we could take a look at it and went over every step. So that's a list of our classes. Put this all back. One of the things that was so fun about the symposium, besides the information that we received, move this, it was meeting different people that shared, come back here, sorry, different people that shared the same excitement about needlework. And I had several people bring things and drop them off at the tables. I wanted to show you. And I had made a little packet, little goodie packet for every participant and left it at their table. And when I did that, several people gave me things I wanted to show you. So Jersey girls made everyone these beautiful needle counters. It's just decorated needles, just so pretty. And then I had a lovely lady, and I did not get her name. She was sitting next to us. She made this thread bed, which I did not have one. So I was so thrilled to get it so I could put my silks in it. So thrilled about that. Jean also gave us all some of this floss. This is cotton hand dyed. This is from Australia. And then a wonderful lady named Louise, she goes by Lou. When I gave her a little packet that I had made for everyone, she gave me this beautiful little strawberry. It was so sweet. She was such a dear lady. So I think that just being part of everything, meeting people, it was just wonderful. Now, in my bag here, I have a few more things that people gave us. Move these and put the back in the bag. We have Red Barn Samplers. Gave us a little chart for an upcoming sampler. Angie at Lunchbox Quilts gave everybody this laser cut floss drop. I don't know who gave us this little sparkly boo-boo brush, but that was so pretty. And I have hard floss drops that different people gave to me. Of this, Under the Garden Moon, needle minder. So I kept all of these things in my bag, so I do not misplace them until I went over everything. Tuck all this away. So let me show you some of the haul that I got. Oh, we also got this little hanger, and I found out and have joined the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild, which now is meeting virtually. So if you're interested in finding a virtual guild, TudorRoseSamplerGuild.com. And Shelley, Lori, and Julia, who were at my table, are all part of that guild. So they shared that with me and I joined immediately. So let me show you some of the things. I have a whole basket. And I'll put this in the description as well. So come back to the main camera. So going back to the attic, because now I had my footing a little bit better, and I could take my time, go back and look at things. And I want to show you because the walls of the attic are filled with samplers, some of them the original ones with the reproductions. So I think I made 3 trips to the attic, and each time, just after the first time where I was just at the deer and headlights, but after that I just took my time to look. And I had a few things I wanted to look at and get, but just really could take my time. So I want to show you a couple of charts with the original. I'm just going to go to this one. This is Hands Across the Sea. Pull that chart. And it is, here it is, When Thou Art Rich. This is the original. It was tiny. And the reproduction was right above it. So let me show that to you. It is. So here is the reproduction. So I purchased the chart, and then I did, once I had the chart, I did pull some linen and silk. So here are the silks. It also can be in DMC. But since I was at the attic, I went ahead and pulled the silk. So I thought this linen, which is Seraphim 40 count, these knees, was perfect match for, well, the chart and also the original. So here are the silks. You can see them all here, just stunning. Look at this color. Cannot wait to start that. So this is 40 count. So that's one thing that I purchased at the attic. And let me come back and show you another original sampler. 1 second to pull that screen up. Well, it's not wanting to work. Hold on, hold please. There we go. This is M. Woods. This you can see is a little bit of a fragment, and it's tiny as well. I don't even know what count. Above 60, it has to be. It was so small, but so beautiful. And here is the chart. It's by Milady's Needle. Open it up here. I must have looked at that sampler, the original one, I don't know how many times. And I finally decided, I kept going back to it. I thought, just get the chart. So here it is. And then here are, I was able to pull some of the silk, some are out of stock, which I'll get later. But those are the colors. I did not pull a linen yet because I wanted to wait till I had all of these silks. But that one was just beautiful. And the other one, I'm going to come back to my PowerPoint. Hopefully it will cooperate here. I want to show you something else I saw in a case. So this is a mirrored case, and everything in there is by the Scarlet House. And I saw this wonderful little design on a board, and it was small. It was so pretty, and I thought, and it's an older one. It's from 2017. So I thought, did they have that in stock? And they did. So I picked that up, and it is Bonnie's Bittersweet. And so I pulled, didn't use many silks, pulled the silks, or pulled the hand-dyed. So I haven't, yeah, here's the colors. Haven't decided which linen I'm going to use. You can see this one's a little lighter. Haven't decided which one yet. But this one is, okay, this one is 40 count cream and sugar, which I had. So I pulled that, and then I think this one I also had. This is the leftover from my finish, which I'll show you next time. This is milk and honey. I'm not sure. I'll have to decide which I'm going to use there. But I just loved that little chart. Now, one of the other charts, I picked up two other charts that I did not pull anything for yet. This is also by Scarlett House. And I love this Christmas Tide at Holly House. There it is. I had not seen that before, and I love the little snow, the deer, the house. I thought, I'd try to get that. So pick that up. And at Show and Tell on Saturday night, someone was working on this sampler and had this much finished. It was stunning. This is Spring Quaker by Lila Studio. So I also picked that up. Did not pick up any of the floss because I have most of these at home, the DMC and the Classic Colorworks. So picked up those two charts. Now let me show you a couple other things that I did pick up with floss or silk. I know many of you have seen this come into my garden. Blackbird Designs, picked that up, and let me show you the linen, because I did pick up the chart at the attic. This is, I think this is Lollipop. Let me see. Yes, 36 count. It's a big piece, but I loved how it has some blue in it, almost like a tartan. I thought it looked very nice with the floss. So here is, I decided on this one. Look real quick to see what it calls for. Here it is. So it's calling for mostly weeks, and I was able to pull those. So that's what I did, laying things out on that back table in the corner of the attic, checking the flosses, see how I like them with the linen. So that one is all kitted up. Now, Lori and Shelley, who sat at my table, were working on, and I know many of you have seen this and have worked on it, Dorothy, but they were working on this sampler, which is absolutely exquisite. The photo does not do it justice. So I kept looking at it, and their work was beautiful. Kept looking at it and finally said, you know, about the third time, I said, that's Dorothy? And they said, yeah, it is. So I want to show you. I had a piece of Havana because I brought my Quaker dwelling and I was working on that. And you know, Shelley was using an old Lakeside linen, an older one that's out of print. I couldn't remember which one it was, but when I showed her the pretty good piece of Havana, and the sampler's small, so we thought that would work really well. And when I went to the attic, I also saw she might have been working on bee's knees. So I picked up some 46 count bee's knees. I wanted to do smaller and look at, I mean, the colors of these silks. It is in person is just glorious. So again, I'll decide if I'm going to do it on the Havana, but I'm leaning toward the bee's knees because it was very similar to the color that Shelley and possibly Lori were doing. The other table mate, Julia, had brought Hands Across the Sea Bethia. It was absolutely stunning, and it's reversible. The back was just as beautiful as the front. I told Julia it needed to be in a museum. It was stunning. So I enjoyed sitting with them so much. So this is what I picked up at the attic. I've got a few more. I saw this in one of the attic's newsletters. drawn thread stars. I think it's newer. Look, I loved the house and the tree and the verse and the alphabet. Let me see, it does not have a date. So I picked up the Dinky Dyes and the needlepoint silk. I picked up all of these, and you can see it's kind of a gray linen. So I found this 32 count Lugana, because this is calling for 32 count cobblestone. So they had the Lugana in the Stormy Night at the Attic. So laid that out on that little table back there, and then laid the silks. Look at this. So these are all together. I'll be able to start on it. I know I have talked about my last video plans for 23 this year. Well, it might have changed. It's in the attic, but look at the colors. There's the chart. So that's stars by the drawn thread. So I picked that up and keeping it, as you saw, all together in the bag so I don't later go, what was this for? So let me show you a couple other little things that I picked up. This. And this is something that you can lay on the table in front of you or on the arm of your chair. And it's just a little notion to put things in. It's got something you can put your threads in. I purchased these by the Jersey Girls to put in there. You can put your needles, you can put scissors right here and then tie them so they won't fall. And it would rest on the table in front of you or even on the arm of your chair. And then if you're traveling, you can tuck everything back together. So I picked that up. I hadn't tied the scissors yet. Picked that up. Also picked up these little scissors, 4-inch. They're carbon steel black Teflon, made in Italy. Absolutely lovely to hold and cut with. I'll show you the packagings. So they had several different styles of this Brooklyn haberdashery. Picked that up, and then I did get, besides the linen you saw, a few other pieces. So this is, and I know it's hard to see on camera, hopefully we can see it. This is 40 count Sand Dunes by Seraphim. Love this little bit of yellow in here. I'm not sure where I'm going to use that yet, but I just thought this was a good color. It's got a little bit of red, a little bit of gold in it. But I think I got a half, so I'd have enough to do several projects. Yeah, this is Sand Dunes by Seraphim. Now this is also by Seraphim. This is old stationery. You can see it's a little bit more green. This was 40 count, old stationery. It's got just a little bit of gray and brown in it. I just thought the patina on that was beautiful. Would be so versatile. It's also 40 count. And then this one is Seraphim Dusty Road. A little bit different, a little bit lighter. This one's got a little bit of brown in it, a little bit of gray, green, or gray yellow, I guess. And then I did pick up some needle and flax. This is Eastwick. And I thought, well, that one's just really gorgeous. Got a lot of different colors in it. So that's a fat quarter. And that's by Needle and Flax. And then the other one I picked up from Needle and Flax is 40 count Petoskey stone. Now, any of you that are from Michigan will know what a Petoskey stone is. We were born and raised in Michigan, lived there until we moved to Tennessee 33 years ago. But this is a Petoskey stone. They are a fossil. You can only find them along the shores of Lake Michigan, mostly from Petoskey to Charlevoix to Traverse City, somewhere in there. This is actually one that my parents had because they used to live in Traverse City right on the bay. So they picked that up, or someone gave this to them, I believe. And then this is one my dad picked up on their beach and he hand polished. So these mean a lot to me because both my parents are gone now. So that's a little bit of something to remember the time they lived in Traverse City for about 25 years. But this is the Petoskey stone. Lemon, look at this. Oh, just gorgeous. So I know that I'll be able to use that. Now I'm going to come back to me. Actually, I'm going to let you look at this while I pull up my PowerPoint because I did take some other pictures that I want to show you. Actually, I'll come back here for just a minute. I did take some pictures. I didn't show any pictures of actual people in the symposium. They did not ask permission, but we did take some pictures of our group at the table. So let me pull this up. I just need to pull up my PowerPoint, which is not cooperating today. There we go. So a few pictures from the attic, and then we will end with the video. Next time we'll look at works in process. Can't even speak. I'm so overwhelmed with everything. It's still a little jet lag. But after the symposium ended, I did take pictures in the attic, and then also my husband and I drove up to Sedona for a couple of days, which was during the winter storm that was hitting Flagstaff. So we only stayed a day and then came back because the weather was turning pretty ugly. So I'll show you some of those pictures, and then we'll put the video up for you to take a look at. Let me go back here. Oh, remember that table I told you about? It's in the corner here of all of this glorious silk. And this is after 3 or 4 days of the linen being wiped out. So I took the picture, but I love that Jean is in the picture talking and smiling and laughing because that's how she was the whole time. Everyone that worked for her was like that. How can we help you? Happy you're here, smiling, helpful. The whole seminar was wonderful. I just left so uplifted. It was wonderful. I'm so glad I got to go. But as we drove up to Sedona, the weather was pretty ugly and it was kind of dicey getting up there. It was heavy rains and fog. You can see that we did get a couple pictures, but boy, it was tough because the weather, would close right up. And for a while, we could see nothing but the road and had to go very slow on the way up there. But this is just a beautiful picture. I think that's Cathedral Rock. And then we went up to the airport where there's a nice vantage point. You can see how low the clouds are. It lifted for a minute so we could take some pictures. It was about 40 degrees and raining at this point. And then overnight it got colder. And when we walked out of the hotel that morning, the next morning, this is what we saw from the parking lot of the hotel. All of the snow. The clouds lifted for a short time, and we had some patches of some sun, but we only stayed about another hour or so in Sedona because they were expecting ice and snow. So we took a few more pictures, drove around. This is where the sun came out for just a minute, and we got a really beautiful color in the red rocks. And as we left to go home, or to go back to Phoenix, this was what was behind us, getting ready to hit Sedona in the area. So it was going to be kind of messy there for a while. So we decided to head back down to Phoenix until our flight a couple days later. So that's what we did. And when we got to Phoenix, this glorious sunset that evening as we were driving. And one more, just at a stoplight, but look at the glorious color. So that was our trip to Arizona to Sampler Symposium, and then a little side trip up to Sedona and then back to Phoenix. So my husband got to play some more golf and I got to sit and stitch. I think I went to the attic 3 times. I could have gone back while he was playing golf, but I thought, no, you've done enough. You have enough here to keep you busy for a while. So thank you for joining me today. I will put some links in the description. Please visit my Instagram, and we'll put that card here at the end of the video so you'll know the Instagram address. If you enjoy these videos, please subscribe so you'll know when the next one comes up. And you can also, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. Please comment, let me know what you thought. And until next time, be well, happy stitching.